You remember when that Jewish boy, right, who was on the last throes of death, for those of you who know the hadith, it's very powerful. Because the narrator says that we went to the house of the Prophet ﷺ and we told him that this Jewish boy who used to serve the Prophet ﷺ, he was the khadim of the Prophet ﷺ, and he's about to die. So he tells him, the narrator says, I went to the house of the Prophet ﷺ and told him the Jewish boy is about to die. And so the Prophet ﷺ gets dressed and immediately walks out. The narrator said he was walking so quickly I could barely keep up with him. Subhanallah, the urgency, right? So the Prophet ﷺ gets into the room. He looks at the boy and he tells him, right, testify that there's nothing worthy of worship except Allah and that I am the messenger of Allah ﷺ. The boy looks at his father. Now let me just pause here. Now, you might have read this hadith, but there's a backdrop, what's known as Asbab al-Wurud al-Hadith, right? The backdrop is the time period in which this is happening is when the relationship between the Muslims and the Jews in Medina is at its low point. It is not when the Prophet ﷺ first goes to Medina. It's at the end when the relations are really bad, right? Let's come back to the hadith now. So the boy then looks at his father, Jewish man, okay? At a point when relations are at their lowest. And what does this Jewish man say? He says, obey Abul Qasim. Obey the Prophet ﷺ. Okay. And it's just, it reflects the whole concept where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَعْرَفُونَهُ كَمَا يَعْرَفُونَ أَبْنَاهُمْ. They know him, meaning the Prophet ﷺ, like they know their own children, right? No one's going to not recognize their own kids. So, the boy looks at his father, he says, obey Abul Qasim, he takes his shahada. Now, the narrator, as he's walking out of the house following the Prophet ﷺ, he says, I saw tears streaming down the eyes of the Prophet ﷺ. And he says, Alhamdulillah alladhi anqadahu bi minan nar. All praise is due to Allah who saved him from the hellfire by way of my message, my calling him. So this was the hallmark of the Prophet ﷺ, that he wanted good for people and good for the ummah.